Hello and welcome to Coffee and Wrestling, a wrestling podcast. I am one half of your hosts, Mark.
Hey there, I'm the other half, Jamie.
And you're here on, it's Labor Day. It's going to be kind of a laid-back type of podcast this afternoon, this evening.
Still drinking coffee.
Haven't even posted yet. It is Monday. We are recording it the day we're supposed to be posting this. So if you are listening to it Monday afternoon, how are you doing? Happy Labor Day. Hope you are enjoying your more than likely day off. If you don't have the day off, then you must be an essential human being to the interworkings of the world. So thank you so much for sacrificing your day off to make sure our world continues on.
And before we go too far, hope everybody was safe from the hurricane. We are in Florida, but we are very blessed that we were nowhere near the hurricane, just dealing with some high tides near our area.
And we also had a couple of guests in our home, so we are a little disjointed with wrestling this week. We've still yet to even watch Payback yet. We have looked up the results. We've seen everything that's happened.
Didn't watch Raw. Didn't watch SmackDown. Yeah, we're cruising.
We're going pretty hot here. But we are talking pay-per-views today. We
did watch All Out.
A little bit of the Payback, but we'll also be talking about All Out, AEW's second pay-per-view within a week. So far, it's been less than 24 hours, and we haven't heard of anybody punching anybody, throwing chairs, pushing anyone in fearing of their life. So All Out seems to have gone swimmingly.
I think the best way to describe it, as soon as All Out started, Mark was like, okay, this kind of feels like Dynamite. And I can understand the sentiment because it was like there wasn't a whole lot of story, especially for us having family. We missed a lot of things. So it didn't seem like there was just like a lot of story.
Yeah,
and
we
like
were
a lot
very
of
disconnected what was going on.
Yeah, like behind the matches for All Out. But after a few minutes,
it was honestly a completely...
The crowd really brought like another dynamic.
Well, I think it was after the 0 hours when they really started to get hot. I think before then it was that classic, like, this is why you have the 0 hour, is so when you get into your first match, your crowd's at least there.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
They're already accustomed to a match or two, so.
And the 0 hour was great. I mean, the Battle Royale, they had the over-budget Battle Royale.
I loved it.
Was classic AEW Battle Royal. You had gimmicks here. You had, people that were targeted amongst all of the entire the entire Rumble. Sorry, I'm tripping over my own words here. Tony Nese gets thrown out in the beginning. That
was great.
It was a real fun hour. It was a good way for you and I, especially with the condition we were in, trying to catch up on wrestling at this point.
To just get
into it. Yeah, we hadn't watched a lick of wrestling for 4 or 5 days at that point, so we were
trying to catch up on everything. Watching this was really fun. Hangman winning was just like a fun way to like get the crowd going too, because eventually they announced that he gave $50,000 to like the public schools of Chicago,
which I thought was the greatest thing they could have done, because it is so right down the middle of the road.
So neutral.
You could have gone one way and given it to one charity that would irritate everybody,
exactly,
or put it on the other side and put it over there and irritate the other half. But I loved how they were like, nope, it's for education.
It's for the kids. Like, who's going to be mad about that?
Doesn't matter
Left,
what
right,
kind of kid.
center.
Yeah, it's for the kids. So great job there. $50,000 going there. Of course, it went directly to Chicago's school system.
Exactly. But not to get away from what I was saying, but going back to what I was saying earlier, after a little bit, it started to get really fun and really exciting. And looking through the matches, you were like, hold on, like, think about what's going to be happening here. And I think the best way to describe it was All In was for the executives, for the producers, for the
big, flashy,
the WrestleMania,
over-the-top WrestleMania
overproduced
style. Yeah, 90,000, 80,000, people.
All Out was for the fans.
Right. That was for the storyline.
Yeah, that was for the storyline. That was the matches that we're going to walk away from as match of the year contenders, as opposed to All In, which was a great show.
Oh, it was an amazing show.
It was fantastic, but All Out really stood out to me as the better show of the two.
So opening up All Out was MJF and Adam Cole, Better Than You, Baby, defending the ROH World Tag Titles against Dark Order of John Silver and
Alex Reynolds.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Number one, so glad to see Dark Order finally getting a little bit more TV time.
Heel tendencies,
which I like it. I think they do great in that, and they've been so much of a joke faction for so long. I don't want to say a joke faction, like they've been all.
They're funny guys, so I think people don't take them seriously.
Well, ever since Brody Lee ended up passing away, I feel like the steam got taken out of it. You know what I mean? They weren't big and spooky anymore. They were just kind of a little bit silly, which I think worked for them. I kept them relevant. It kept them in people's good graces for the entire time, even though they weren't on TV wrestling every time, but they were on Dark, they were on Elevation. When Ring of Honor came back, they were on Ring of Honor a couple of times.
They've had a good rivalry with like the Righteous and Stu, and ever since like that whole thing at the ROH pay-per-view, it's like they have like another
serious. They've been back into that
more steam behind them.
You know, join the Dark Order because we're gonna be spoopy and beat you up. More of like the House of Black kind of.
Right. The backstage interviews have been really good. Evil Uno is just so good, like the way that he talks and the way that he presents himself, and like you said, they're back definitely to like join the Dark Order. You know,
definitely an individual that when you first see him, you kind of, I think everybody would look much like Orange Cassidy. Look at him like, what are we doing? He's an overweight guy in a mask named Evil Uno, and then he gets in the ring and he throws you around like you're a rag doll and performs like a top tier wrestler.
Yeah, i.e. when he fought John Moxley.
Right. So they started off this match. There's no bells or whistles on any of this. It was a real good back and forth between the two teams. Better Than You Baby ended up retaining.
We got the kangaroo kick.
We got the cliche. One of the partner gets hurt halfway through, so the other one has to carry him for the majority of the time, which may have just been a trope. It may be something to kind of sprinkle in for later on storyline. You know,
this may
Max,
affect...
you're always getting injured. You're always, you can't be defending the world title and the tag titles at the same time. You got to choose, and kind of creating some animosity there. Either way, they put on a great match. Dark Order holding up just as strong as these two are. Obviously, the fan favorite's going to go over. We're not done with the Adam Cole MJF storyline.
I hope they go to ROH and like defend these titles and like really
they need to
do it the way that they should.
And the way that they're selling him, or how MJF is portraying that he's your scumbag.
Right.
He's doing the good guy things. He's enjoying having friends. He's enjoying going out and doing charity work. So I think that it's going to play really well into the character that he is of course I'm going to go to this podunk wrestling ring with all these poors that can't afford real wrestling tickets, so they go to the B-rate version.
I could see him being like, I inspire the people at ROH to be better, to be a champion like me, or
they need perfection like someone like me to be around them.
Guidance.
They'll never be as good, but they can strive to be barely good.
He'll turn it around no matter what he does.
It's so good.
And Adam Cole deserves to be able to actually go to ROH and defend it like that too, especially with them like teasing the Kingdom and.
Yeah, I think the Kingdom's going to be a factor here coming up shortly. They've got the tournament for MJF's belt, and Roderick Strong is going to be involved in that. He's still got the neck brace on, so I'm not sure if he's going to shed that by the time that tournament starts.
No, I think he's got the long run on this one. He's got pictures of him on the plane with a neck brace on.
So good.
He's going to Indies. He's got the neck brace on.
It's Mark Sterling-esque.
It's so good. It's good.
But I think the biggest thing to take away from here is they won against Dark Order. Very little storyline between Adam Cole and MJF as for like any animosity short of him being injured. But as they were leaving, certain Samoa Joe came down, wanted to have his fight sooner rather than later, and as he crossed paths with MJF, ended pushing him a little bit out of the way.
A little reminiscent to something that was about 7-8 years ago
in NXT.
Yeah,
MJF was a security guard, and Samoa Joe did something very similar, and actually MJF responded on Twitter to that, saying something that close to the effect of, "I'm not that little scrawny guy that was back in NXT."
Right.
So I could see a Samoa Joe and MJF feud for the world title.
Again, as we always say, just the back and forth between Samoa Joe and MJF would be nasty.
Oh, it'd be so good.
And they can both back it up. But
I don't think we're going to be seeing that just yet.
This is great. We haven't even spoken about the elephant in the room. Do I even bring that up?
Yeah, go ahead. We love elephants.
CM Punk got fired,
CM Punk got fired, and if you want if you want to bring that elephant, we only have a limited amount of time to record. So we
do.
Might have to
we got Labor Day
out.
barbecues and things like that.
If I can go on the tangent.
We can't go too deep, but
I'll go as deep. Okay, all right. So here's my thing. I've made it very clear in my life. I grew up in a punk rock world. I grew up DIY. I grew up learning things and questioning things and learning when to question things. I'm a CM Punk fan, and the reason why I'm a CM Punk fan is because he's very similar to how I felt as a young individual. So I can relate to the man. So as he came into AEW, I started to kind of cling on to CM Punk and be like, hey, maybe he's been right this entire time. You know, he's going to come into this company. He's going to do great for wrestling. And he did. We were there for MJF and CM Punk in the dog collar match at Revolution.
That was peak CM Punk in AEW, for sure.
The same day that William Regal debuted, and that's going to come back here in a second. To see CM Punk in the status that he is now after All In, one of the biggest pay-per-views, the biggest paid attendance and grossing. You said this last week, and I corrected you, and I was actually incorrect, that it is the biggest, not only attended with paid people, as well as the biggest grossing pay-per-view of all time. And how in the fuck are you going to tarnish it 5 minutes before the start of the goddamn show?
You are the opening match, and there's problems.
You were supposed to be a beacon of fucking light for these young stars. And what are you doing? You're pushing them and putting them into a fucking headlock, asking them they got a problem. I am 36 years old.
A 44-year-old man is fighting a 26-year-old kid.
And I'm sorry,
man.
How the fuck do you sit there and bitch? How the fuck do you sit there and not shake the hand of a legend like William Regal because he was quote unquote one of Triple H's stooges back in WWE when you came to the company AEW to basically do better than WWE, which is exactly what William Regal's trying to do, is doing better than what he's been given before.
Right.
How the fuck do you basically spit in that man's face?
Right. After everything he's done for wrestling.
You're a fucking crybaby because you can't get over the idea that corporate America got one over on you and tried to prove you wrong at every fucking step. And now you have a big old bruise on your hiney, and now that you're in a company that has the capabilities of doing exactly what you've been striving to do, what every punk rock kid has strived to do, and just come over the top of that corporate bullshit, and you're going to spit in the face of the only company that's going to attempt to do that.
And they're letting you
Fuck
be
you, Phil Brooks.
the leader. They're letting you be the leader of this new show that they've created where you, and let's
Don't
be
deserve
real,
it.
You and your friends are running it. And it's been fantastic. I've really enjoyed it. But now here we are, All Out
a year
in
later,
Chicago.
A year later, from one of the worst pay-per-view outcomes of all time, and we're doing it again.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely fucking insane.
Unbelievable. Now this is where it ties back to Samoa Joe because again, CM Punk and Samoa Joe opened up All Out. So this whole here we go all in brawl whatever
brawl
was
in, brawl
between
out.
Jack Perry, who had the last 0-hour match with Hook, and CM Punk, who's
which was a fucking
up.
banger of a match. Like, eat a dick.
I loved it.
What the shit? What a good match.
Oh, what did he say? Cry me a river?
Well,
you're a man.
You're
a grown
that
man.
boy's going to be crying tears in his Pepsi because he doesn't have a job anymore. That is going to be my
and
only.
You know what? Good on Tony Khan for doing it.
For finally pulling his balls out of CM Punk's purse.
Whether you're a fan of CM Punk or not, it was the right move.
You know what? Here is Coffee and Wrestling's final stance on this.
Yeah,
and you've heard what I just went on. That's a personal mark at Gunk Dudley on Twitter. Bring it up with me if you got a problem. Come on with it.
You got a problem? Yo, I'll solve it.
Okay. Here's how it is. We always look at the positive of wrestling. We always know that there's going to be a negative. People are going to fuck up. People in real life are going to say things that are just unethical and just not good. In the broad spectrum of things, in the 2 years that Phil Brooks was involved in AEW, he did some really good things. If you subtract anything that wasn't on AEW programming, if you get away from the dirt sheets, if you get away from the podcasts, if you get away from Twitter, and you just look at professional wrestling in AEW as a whole, he has done great things. It was a good 2-year run. Thanks for your work. See you on your future endeavors.
And All Out proved, we can move on.
Yep, and that's what we're going to do here at Coffee Wrestling. That's the last thing I will ever say of it on Coffee and Wrestling related media.
It looks like it was All Out seemed to me like a turning for the company. It's the same thing that happened after the Brawl Out.
Yep.
Was the immediate pay-per-view following was just a whole turning of events and a reliability on the group that you have to pull everybody together to go away from all the dirt sheet drama and all the brawl out and the backstage bullshit
and put on the best damn show
and
you
put
could
on the
fucking
best
put on.
show. And you cannot say, you can't have done something like this without thanking Bryan Danielson. Somebody who was injured, who literally was like, I got you. John Moxley, who literally still never got that vacation.
Yep, still waiting on that 6 weeks off.
I got you. Like, it's been incredible that the people that you really can rely on, the Chris Jerichos, that are there when everything is needed, and everybody
when shit hits the
overperformed
fan,
at all.
When shit hits the fan, they stand there, they get it on their face, and they go, nope, we're still going.
They really did that. Case in point, this strap match that was set up, like,
oh my God.
I don't know if it was actually set up last minute, like what exactly happened. Obviously, Ricky Starks was supposed to have this up and coming rivalry with CM Punk, and at the last minute, there was some change of plans between what was supposed to be. It was insinuated Ricky the Steamboat.
It had been insinuated the entire time, and I'm sure it was going to be one of those things that CM Punk was going to come out. It was supposed to be CM Punk and Ricky Starks. They've came out and already said that he didn't know that the change was happening until Saturday. They never said what time during Saturday, but right the day of the day before the pay-per-view, that's when they found out that they're going from CM Punk to Bryan Danielson.
Who's that? Who found out?
Ricky Starks.
Oh, okay, so he didn't know either.
He had no idea.
Wow.
You got to remember, we didn't hear about CM Punk being fired until like halfway through last week.
Well, it was the day of Collision, wasn't it? I think it was Saturday. Because I was that's awkward.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, that's right, because Tony Khan had a meeting before Collision. But yeah, Ricky Starks had no idea up until like a little bit more than 24 hours. And then in the press conference following their match, like beyond the idea of how good of a match this strap match was, Bryan Danielson, one of people consider him quite possibly the greatest wrestler of all time, let alone of modern day wrestling.
Unless you're Eddie Kingston.
Yeah. But he came and said, all of this was possible because Ricky Starks carried me through the match. Like, he never said that his arm was completely healed. He still had a cast on it.
He said there was a lot of smoke and mirrors.
He said there was a lot of smoke and mirrors, but he said and the words out of his mouth was that Ricky Starks carried Bryan Danielson
which is crazy.
All out.
Ricky Starks got the ass whooping of a lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the entire time I was like, damn. Like, he probably knew damn well when they said, oh, by the way, it's going to be Bryan Danielson. He probably knew instantly, shit.
I don't know if he did, because some of those strap shots he took, I was looking at Ricky's face, and it was I mean, they're strapped. Did you see his back? If you haven't looked at his back, go on his Instagram. I think it was on his Instagram or Twitter. Boy is lit up. Red marks everywhere.
Bad.
Big wide ones, skinny dark ones. Like, he is lit up. But I got to give it to these two. These two in such short notice. Now, they put on a hell of a match with less than 48 hours notice on one of AEW's biggest pay-per-views. Mm-hmm. And you have one of the biggest wrestling stars of our modern age, again, maybe of all time, taking on somebody who has been compared to The Rock in his mannerisms and how he carries himself and how The Rock kind of should have started. It's
Woo,
that's awesome.
I just looked at that picture,
you
by
saw
the
that
way.
Picture?
Oh.
It's crazy. It was such a good
at
match.
The airport,
they did
too.
such a great job taking a shitty situation and turning it into something is going to be talked as possibly one of the matches of the year.
Oh, absolutely. Turning around, like I said before, making it a positive situation. When the AEW locker room is in dire need of a turnaround, like, they are just so good at coming back better than ever.
They are that magic juice that Jordan pulls out in the middle in halftime at Space Jam.
Yeah, for real.
And it's been documented. Mox we made jokes about how he still hasn't gone on vacation. He's stepped up. Danielson's obviously stepped up. Pretty much all of BCC is known for being those individuals that step up when shit hits the fan and somebody needs to step up. So good on them. Great match. For what it was, it seemed like that this was planned out for weeks.
Oh yeah, it seems like it was well rehearsed and planned out. It was great. I mean, it was one of those matches where, like, the entire time you weren't thinking about anything but, again, the ass whooping they were giving to each other. So during the pay-per-view, I wasn't thinking about CM Punk. except for the couple times that there were references you could see in the crowd.
Right.
It was
right.
really just thinking like, this is a great match. This is a great story. This is great wrestling.
They really did a great job detracting away from the controversy of All In.
Yeah.
And just focusing on the magic that was All Out.
Mm-hmm. They did their best. But Tony Khan addressed it head on too, which was nice. They weren't afraid to address it. They weren't afraid to say what actually happened. But it was, again, a revolutionary thing where we just got to keep going. And they really, again, overperformed. It was fantastic. There was a very unexpected, almost last-minute setup of a match between FTR and Young Bucks, who were teaming up together. Very interesting that they just fought each other a week prior. Now here they are teaming up.
Right.
Versus Bullet Club Gold, the absolute leaders of Collision.
I have fallen in love with BCG.
And all of them equally. Like, the Guns, we've been able to, at least Mark and I have been able to, like,
we've been in love with the Guns since they've debuted.
Grow, since they've been together, since COVID, since all that.
When they first showed up, they were on the outskirts of the ring when COVID hit, and it was just in Jacksonville. They were always hyping up the matches, the wrestlers in the ring.
More Austin and Billy than Colton.
Yeah, right. Well, Colton wasn't really too...
He wasn't around then.
None of them really known. They were just Billy Gunn's kids, you know what I mean? When they debuted, they did exactly what they needed to do. They were annoying. They were like, oh, these two idiots, they're Billy Gunn's son. They had that same
son
thing, and they rolled with that arrogance, and then they turned into an okay, like, dark tag team. Like, they were always on Dark and Elevation, and we've watched them develop into, like, in the spotlight of Collision with and obviously getting put with Bullet Club Gold has just brought them to the top of the heel list on Collision. But I think it's been great for them. And it's
been great for both. I think the Guns have even made Juice and Jay look better too.
Oh yeah,
it's such a collaborative
There's two more
effort.
Crodies for Jay to just have rubbing his back and lifting him up after he wins.
And then the four of them doing the entrance.
Oh, it's so good.
So good.
I love and it might be something akin to, Billy Gunn has been in the industry for 30 years, so he knows a thing or two. But I love the visual they do with the water, where they, they're spitting like they're shooting the guns. It's something simple, it's stupid, and I remember the first time we saw it, you and I rewound it, and we're like, that's such it's so just a little thing.
I watched it like 10 times on Twitter, which if you don't follow us, by the way, we are at CAW Wrestling Pod. I legitimately watched it like 10 times over because I was like, damn, that was so good. They had like the Many Men when they first were really getting into the good entrance. So unique. You got Juice Robinson looking like what is it? No, that cereal.
Oh my God, Honeycomb Smacks or something like that. That crazy ass fuzzball that was just spazzed out on sugar all the time. Yeah, that is Juice Robinson, 100%.
Yeah, that is 100% him. Talk about overperforming. That dude never underperforms.
I mean, in all 8 of these guys, and I think it fell a little bit victim to there's so many guys in the ring that it's hard to really get a good focus on what's going on without excluding the other 6 guys.
Understandable.
But I mean, it was a really solid match. And I mean, it does nothing but good things for Bullet Club Gold. I mean, it's always a good thing when you get a win on a pay-per-view and you get to showcase your entire faction. They got the win over not only the EVPs of AEW, but the AEW Tag Team Champions, and they pinned one of the AEW Tag Team Champions. So, of course, that sets up, just bragging rights for Bullet Club, but then it also sets up a little bit more storyline between the Young Bucks and FTR because they're kind of buddy-buddy right now, and it's weird. They just had this big, quote-unquote, knockout, drag-out match, and now all of a sudden we're buddy-buddy just because we got, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Right.
And it's, I don't know. I'm not, what are we doing with it? I don't know.
It was fun, though. One thing we haven't touched on and I really enjoyed was the fact that FTR and the Young Bucks were, finishing each other's moves.
That was finishers. A pretty cool touch.
It was
they've done, they've wrestled each other so many times. They know each other that well.
Yeah, I got you on the Shatter Machine. You got you on the BTE trigger. It was just really cool. One of each tag, guy from each tag team just stood in for the other.
But what do we see in the beginning of the FT Elite?
FT Elite? I don't know. Kind of again, not to be that guy, kind of awkward. CM Punk gets fired and then here we are.
They're all of a sudden buddy with the Young Bucks.
Right?
Oh man. Well, we're not welcome on Collision anymore. Oh, another thing that I heard today, because internet, it's unofficially announced that the soft split between Collision and Dynamite is going to be ending very soon.
I wonder why.
It's just, I hope they don't come out and say something, because then it's like, okay, you're just putting the stamp on, yes, Tony Khan gave CM Punk this whole show.
Yeah, you don't have to say anything though. We all know.
No, I mean,
literally, this guy got in trouble, and then they gave him his own show, and they were like, "Put whoever you want on it," and then everybody he didn't like got banned.
And they all got mad about it, and I wonder why. You know
Understandable.
What I mean? This is my Cool Kids Club Saturday night.
That's ridiculous.
Fever.
I hope Colt Cabana
Elton
gets
John.
all the time he wants, and it's on Collision.
Well, I mean, even the first time that he wasn't with the company, like they had the Young Bucks were on there. There was a couple people that were on there that have never been on Collision before.
Right.
So
it opens up so much more. Like, why not? It shouldn't be.
FTR has got to be in a real weird spot though, because I mean, I know that both Dax and Cash are good friends with CM Punk, and
right.
Personal relationships, and you got to support your friends when you support them.
Right.
But it's got to put them in a real spot, because you're friends with this guy, so you want to kind of be on their side, but you can't sit there and tell me that you don't look at the situation and go, yeah, but maybe you could have done something a little bit different. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
when your buddy, he breaks that window at that place you're hanging out at, and it's like, you could have not done that.
Like, I got you, but why?
Yeah, like
why'd you do that?
I got you out of there, but man, now I'm involved.
Yeah, right.
I'm
an accessory to this crime.
It just it puts. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll be seeing as we go forward. But yeah, it's interesting. The Young Bucks and FTR are real chummy all of a sudden.
Like instantly, like overnight.
And I'm not implying
hey.
anything. I'm not implying anything at all. I just find it ironic that they all of a sudden are buddy the minute CM Punk gets fired. So Bryan Danielson took on Ricky Starks.
Yes.
Claudio and Wheeler took on Eddie and Shibata.
Yes.
So
that was a great match too.
The only missing member of the BCC that didn't have a match yet was Jon Moxley.
Mr. No Days Off.
He was in the main event with, by God, I give
the
two
AEW
shits
champion.
less. The champion. Fuck a Roman Reigns.
I know.
Fuck a John Cena. Fuck a whoever else. 31 defenses.
I think in 326 days or something.
Just shy of a year, but 31 defenses.
It's incredible.
I absolutely loved his reign.
The backpack got too heavy, unfortunately.
So sad to see the belt come off of Orange Cassidy, but I couldn't see it happening anywhere else.
I couldn't have seen it happen by a better guy, though, too.
And we've even had that conversation. Who would take the belt? Like, who was?
How could you end this?
Who was worthy enough to end the orange streak?
And it's so important that it was a good person after all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. But the way they did it, like, it was interesting because what happened was, let's be real here, Mark got tired and he went to bed.
Yes.
And I watched the main event by myself, and Mark watched it in the morning by himself.
Yes.
So we were able to kind of have like our own opinions.
No distractions.
No, neither of us knew the winner. We just were able to watch it by ourselves and get like a pure, genuine reaction. And I woke up and Mark was on like the last minute and a half, 2 minutes, and I was like, oh, perfect. And I sat there and he was like, oh, I can totally see Orange is gonna win this is gonna be so good. This is such a good opportunity for Orange. I mean, what better way to put him over than to win over Jon Moxley? And you're just talking about it and you're saying all the things I'm saying to myself as I'm watching this by myself, the night before. And then John wins and you look at me and you're like, okay,
it was so good.
That was so good.
So good, and
I thought the same exact thing.
I'm so happy I was wrong. I'm so happy.
Same.
We didn't even get to do our predictions on this one, but I had Orange Cassidy pegged to winning this one, and
100%.
I'm ecstatic that it went the way that it was. I'm never upset when I'm wrong. Like, it's not like I sit here and like, I missed 2 of them. I can care less.
I like to be wrong on this.
I couldn't have been happier with this match.
No.
Great match between both the men. You've got Jon Moxley, who is already a guy that he'll drive forks into people's heads. He'll have skewers sticking out of his, glass, barbed wire. And then you have Orange Cassidy, who is like the most doubted guy on the AEW roster that has come the furthest. He didn't go any further. Just people realized how good of a performer Orange Cassidy really is.
Yeah, beyond the gimmick.
And this championship run really solidified that for anybody who had any doubts. 31 consecutive defenses, 32 defenses with 1 loss.
Right.
And he lost against the probably, other than Chris Jericho, the top guy in AEW right now. Maybe not, or Chris Jericho, not even right now. I misspoke. But honest to God, like, great way to end this pay-per-view. Ended it on such a high.
And the story, like the performance, it wasn't just the wrestling, because the wrestling was, of course, very important, but it was the ending that I thought was fantastic, because John won and he looked back and he was like, fuck. Like he was shook.
Yeah, like he didn't realize how hard he was going to have to work to get that belt. Like he ran that match 90% of the match. Orange Cassidy just took an ass whooping.
He did,
but he kept getting up, and I think that was the cherry on the top of this. It's 31 defenses. He has been nursing injuries since well before half of those defenses.
Right.
His hand
and
was
still
messed
every
up.
week coming out.
Yep, his neck was messed up. His shoulder was messed up. And every week coming out with that backpack. Every week leaving with that backpack with that championship. And just to put an ending on that story of this championship the way that they did, I can't see how they couldn't have done any better.
No, the story was fantastic. And it doesn't have to be a 3-year reign, to be able to tell in a fantastic story. You can sum something up just that quickly,
right,
and put somebody over that quickly that Orange Cassidy will forever have. Nobody would ever be surprised if he walked away with the world championship in AEW now, because of how well he performed with that championship.
He's defended
before. Nobody would have ever thought that he would have been worthy of that.
The only person that's defended that many times is Jade Cargill in AEW.
Right.
So, I mean, and her streak was one of legends already in the AEW sphere.
Exactly. So in 4 years, 2 incredible champions, for sure.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to do it for us this episode. I know it's kind of a short one. There's been so much wrestling. There has been so much going on between hurricanes and wrestling and family showing up at our house unexpectedly. It's just been a lot. So we've had a heck of a week. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. You can find us on Twitter at CAW Wrestling Pod, where we tweet most weeks. This week was kind of a hit or miss, but
bear with us here.
We live tweet on any WWE Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, pay-per-views, NJPW, Impact, whatever we fancy in the wrestling sphere this week. You can find me on Twitter, or X. I'm sorry, I keep calling it Twitter. I'll always call it Twitter. You can find me on X at Gunk Dudley,
and I'm at a bacon party, and I don't know what that means. It just sounded cool.
Yeah, I think you said that like the first time we had ever mentioned our own personal Twitter handles.
I was just driving one day and I thought, you know what? Who wouldn't want to go to a bacon party?
Well, I'm surprised nobody's questioned me.
Maybe a vegan?
I'm surprised nobody's questioned me as to why I claim I'm a Dudley.
Or Gunk.
I think the Dudley makes a little bit more volatile than the Gunk people.
Well, the Dudley makes sense for the wrestling.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with technically wrestling.
At any rate, thank you so much for joining us.
Make sure you tune in every Monday for a piping fresh hot cup of coffee and wrestling, a wrestling podcast. We post every Monday morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, so it's there when you wake up. This one will be here Wednesday. I think I'm getting delirious. I haven't had enough coffee. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you in the next episode. Somebody's got to bleed. He didn't bleed this one.
Be John.
He didn't bleed this time.
Oh, he bled.
That was orange. That was all orange.
They both bled.
I don't remember John bleeding at all.
Really?
We'll have to go back and check the tape.
Okay. There is no such thing
as tape.
As John Moxley having a match.
I have 2 rolls of tape right here.
What? Why are you?
Just keep going. I'll edit it and I'll change it back.
I don't even know where to go.